off this thing. Wastegate. Sorry, my English is not my second language. It's not my second language. Even though I was born here, just catastrophic. All the bottom ones, the two in the bottom, I mean, and then yeah, basically, just take your time. There's no rush. Okay, and then when you have it all loose, you remove this little arm from the wastegate, and then you remove it here. You put it to the side because it's going to be going to the W1 turbo. Okay, and the next steps we're going to have to do is remove this 12mm bolt because we're going to transfer this bracket to the W1, and we're also going to remove this oil return line and these two little bolts here, 10mm, 12mm. Okay, like I said before, 12mm bolt. Just break it loose. Use your hands. And just put it to the side. Next step is oil return line underneath. Just break them loose a little bit. And then the next one is kind of hard to get to because the line is in there, but just be a man. They're loose, and these are your fingers. Your girl will thank you later. Hang on to the pipe. And make sure you remove this gasket with the oil return line. And if you can, try to order a new one from Honda if your gasket is not messed up or anything or old, but this is pretty new. So we're gonna do the double nut method. Get the stud out, and then we're gonna transfer this stud over to the W1. But in our case, we have all new hardware. What I did right here, I just tighten these nuts together like this, real tight, and then to back off the stud, you go from the back nut and just loosen it up like that.
And then the whole thing comes out.
You get the point. You get the gist of it. I'm gonna put this stock turbo into a bucket, and then we're gonna bring in the W1 and prep it for installation.
Cool.
In a bucket, just in case it dribbles the rest of the coolant and oil inside of it. Ta-da!
No, don't show my name.
Oh,
no.
My bad. Next step in the process, you have to grab these handles. You know, protect your investment. And
What's in there?
I don't know. I think it's a TIP. Oh, it's not a TIP. I ordered the wrong thing. This is a W1 turbo from 271 Performance.
We had one before.
I don't know. My SI is NA, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Nice. So the reason you have to be careful with this bag, because 271 has like a buyback policy where if you need to keep your bag nice and in good condition. Also, the box it came in, so you can get your money back or get money towards a newer turbo like a W2. And then we have these hardware pieces came with the kit. You get a block to turbo gasket, and then you have your other gasket for hot side to down pipe. And then you have all your oil lines and coolant lines in here, and your banjo bolts and copper washers and stuff here. The next step here, we're gonna put in these coolant lines here. So you get one copper washer in the top, part here, and then one at the bottom. And then this one, you put it on the top port here. I'll show you guys. Goes in like this. It's hand tight for now, but you can go on the Dozuki web app that 271 has, and you can look up all the specs. And this is showing right now the oil feed line, but we can go down into here. It'll tell you how many foot-pounds you need to torque it down to, but it's 21 foot-pounds for this one, and also for this other coolant hose here. Same thing, same process. 2 copper washers, one top, one the bottom, and then there. And this one faces towards the cool side of the turbo. Just be careful, don't drop it, like I did. And always hand tight for now, and then we'll torque them in a little bit. Next step is we're gonna put in the wastegate actuator and everything into its housing, and then the plug side faces up like that, and just takes a little force, but not really much, just to get this little arm in here. Okay, after you have it in, you put in this clip here. It's pretty tight on there, so you have to use the force loop. And then you have your 4 Allen put in here. Same thing we did before with the stock one, but in reverse order. Okay, so we're gonna put in 4 3mm head into it. The location is 4, 1 in each corner. Start it with your hand or your finger. The way I usually do it, it's not like a thing in the Bible, but I do it 1 in each corner first, just out of habit. And then same thing when tightening, I start 1 in each corner, just for tightening. I tighten it like a little bit, and then 1 in each corner, just so, because this is plastic, you don't want to over tighten it and crack one side or whatever. Okay, next step, we're gonna install this stud we removed earlier, but we have new hardware. We just got new hardware because we can, and this is a part number if you want to, for reference. Okay, we have all new hardware for TIP 271 TIP. We want to thank Vincent for sending us a new gaskets and hardware for replacing the old hardware, because we got a used TIP. So you got breather hoses, bypass valve hoses, 2 bolts, 2 studs, a bracket, and hose clamps, and
wiring heat shrink.
Wiring heat shrink and gaskets and stuff.
And all that is available from 271. Just contact Vincent.
Okay, next step, since we have the TAP, we're gonna use a provided stud. It helps in the process to hold the gasket in place. Okay, next step, we're gonna put in the gasket for the oil turn line. But in our case, we're just gonna get a new gasket because you know, they wear out, so we're gonna just get new ones. You know, be safe, be on the safe side.
We have had an issue with oil on the W1.
A previous one. So this is the part number if you need it. Okay, so this gasket is has a little indent here. The indent goes towards the thread side, towards the turbo, and then the little nipple here, little step out, goes towards the top, like this. And then the oil feed, the oil return line, sorry. And then there's two 10mm bolts. Remember, hand tight first. You want to strip anything, you'll have a real bad time. And these are torqued to between 8 and 10 foot-pounds, but I just do a little bit. Okay, now next we have this bracket that holds the heat shield. You transfer the old heat shield from your stock turbo, and you have a 12mm bolt.
What about those people that say, I don't want the heat shield?
And you need it for the O2, and so you won't get heat soak and everything. So heat shield is good. Next, we're gonna just prep the area. We're gonna just put in a new gasket from exhaust side of the block. It goes to the exhaust side of the turbo. And then after that, we'll put in the studs and the gasket, downpipe to turbo. Back at the car, and then we have the old, obviously the old turbo out, the stock one, and then we're gonna get ready to put in the W1. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of clean around the area. Just make sure you don't have anything weird going on there. And then we're gonna just put in the gasket. They're basically ready to be mounted now. Okay, so W1 turbo coming in. It's a little bit of a little puzzle. If you have an extra hand, that'd be perfect. Just nice and easy. No, don't rush it.
Turn. It's tight fit.
Tight fit, but
it'll make it.
It'll make it. It's getting on there, just wiggle it on.
Back where she belongs.
There we go. We're in. I'm gonna put in a few little nuts on just so it won't fly off. All that boost.
Yeah. So inconvenient when the turbo falls off the front of the car.
It happens sometimes. Okay, I already have one stud inside of here on the hot side of the turbo. They provide 4 studs, 271 does, and then just put them in. The short side studs also goes to hot side turbo, and this goes to a downpipe. Okay, next step, we're gonna put in the gasket for the turbo to downpipe. It goes in like this. The ones that are closer together, they're closer together here, further apart here. Just slip on. Okay guys, so next step, I'm gonna put in a bolt into that bracket here. One finger is, but it doesn't really line up perfectly. So what I'm gonna do, there's another bolt here to the block side. Loosen it up, and I'll get that loose, and I can get that other bolt in here. So 14mm bolt. It's a bracket that helps support the turbo. So I'll be the next step. I'll come back when I have that in. Okay, before you torque these nuts and bolts down, underneath here you have this bracket, right, we're talking about. and then make sure it's loose still, so you can align the hole in the bolt in here, because if you tighten it down first.
I actually got a good shot of it down there. Let me zoom in.
Okay.
That little guy down there.
Yeah, you can see my finger. This bracket here attaches to the cast of the turbo outside underneath, and then yeah, just hand tight. Make sure everything's hand tight. Remember that.
Okay, there it is. Good
there you
job.
go. And then there's another bolt back there that I loosened a little bit just to wiggle it, but you don't really need to. But there you go. So torque. This one's real hard to get to.
The difficult one now.
Yeah, I just have to find a way to torque it.
Almost. Twerk it.
Torque it. If you can't torque it, just guesstimate. Okay, so next step in the process, after turbo's in, you want to get your oil feed ready. So you have your bottom part that goes into your oil feed. You get it prepped here, you screw it on, you know, nice and tight. You get 2 wrenches, tighten them. Next one here. Same thing, 2 wrenches. So I have the oil feed like this. So this side goes to the block side, and you make sure that this line here is facing you towards the front of the car, because the oil feed is on top of the turbo. And then the important part is make sure you have this oil feed filter. Your stock one has one, but I mean, obviously we recommend to have fresh ones. So this is the part number here. If you're interested, you can pause the video here. And this is what I'm talking about, a little mesh screen here with the rubber gasket around it, like O-ring.
Not something you can buy down at your local AutoZone.
No, you can get it at Honda, or you can order it online. This goes in here. Okay, I attached the oil feed line to the bottom first, because you have to make sure on the block side there's a little nipple, and on the actual line there's a little hole for the nipple to go into. So you want that to be in there before you tighten it down, so it'll be lined up and perfect, so you won't have any leaks. Okay, now as you see, we have the heat shield back on. We decided to paint this black with heat resistant paint, just for it looks. Now we have these 2 bolts here, the 12mm bolts, and 2 here. You can see it there. It's hard to see with the camera angle, but you get the gist.